Call of Duty has never been afraid of controversy, especially in their campaigns. One thing that comes to mind right away is No Russian from the original Modern Warfare 2. It was controversial because, well, you were doing some controversial things in that mission. However, Black Ops 6 has been weird for this because when I put out my review for the game as a whole, for the whole campaign, which will be linked down in the description and after the video if you want to check that out. But when I put that out, there was one piece of feedback that I received on that video that I did not expect. You see, in the campaign, there's this mission called Emergence, and it is this trippy, mind-bending mission that is probably narrative-wise the most important for the story out of any other mission in the game. I thought this was a pretty decent mission. However, with there being zombies in this mission, and if you didn't play the campaign, no, you didn't hear me wrong, there are zombies in this mission started to attract a lot of hate. And I wanted to take a deeper look at this mission and discuss why. And I don't think the answer is what you are actually thinking. So in this video, what I'm going to do is dive through this specific mission. And if you want to see me maybe do this more in the future, looking at other specific missions and diving into why they're great, why they're horrible, or other things altogether, show me by hitting that like button on this video, and maybe we'll continue doing maybe a little series like this. But for this video, let's go ahead and answer the question, why is Emergence in Black Ops 6 so oddly hated?
Seb, how's it going on your side?
Still looking for a way in. The north doors are totally sealed. You?
Case and I are in South Gate utility entrance. Looks like someone's been through here recently. Used the freight elevator. Chains broken. All right.
So the mission starts out with us in the Advanced Technologies and Applications Division inside a facility in Kentucky. As we go in, Case tries to go alongside Marshall when the elevator below him breaks, he falls, his gas mask breaks, and he starts to breathe in a mysterious gas. We eventually find out that this gas is known as Cradle, which is one of the main parts of Black Ops 6 and also this mission. Now, I want to be clear, this is probably the most important mission to the story of Black Ops 6. There is a lot that is revealed in this mission. Number one, we find out that Case, the character who we play as in the game, aka William Calderon, is actually named Case because he was Case 1.
It's for you.
Fantastic to see you again, Case 1. How have you been feeling? A friendly reminder that most of the facility is off limits to patients. I hope you understand.
Welcome back, Case.
Through this mission, we end up finding out that Case 1, or Case, was a volunteer for this project known as Cradle. Cradle, we find out, was basically a serum, something that could be inhaled, which was meant to create super soldiers, and Case volunteered to be one of these super soldiers.
Only a few know the origins of the Pantheon, Case. They were a CIA branch, unknown to even the other Black Ops divisions. They developed the Cradle. A new generation of operatives would be born of it.
Now, after they started to test this out, they realized that there were some massive side effects to the Cradle, and in so, they decided to no longer work on this project. But Pantheon separated outside of the CIA and decided to pursue this not for super soldiers, but rather as a biological weapon.
They tried so hard to perfect the Cradle, Case, but the side effects couldn't be stopped. As we know, we were the first and last trial volunteer. So its makers repurposed it into a biological weapon instead.
And this is where people start to not like the mission, because, as it turns out, the Cradle that is running through Case's veins and the Cradle that he is breathing in this mission makes you really trip out and turn into a really evil human being. And that's when things start to go wild.
The Cradle Project failed us, Case. We were out of control, violent, maniacal. And in our rage, we sabotaged this facility. Contaminated it with the same poison that runs in our veins. Remember?
Zombies. There are zombies in this mission. So the biggest complaint that I've seen about this mission is that there is zombies in it, and I'm going to address that in a minute, but I think there's a couple of other reasons as well. First of all, this mission does not feel like a Call of Duty mission whatsoever. If we compare this campaign to something like a Modern Warfare game, Modern Warfare is very set in militaristic combat, whereas Black Ops is kind of like this more spy thriller, mind-bending. It is a very different thing, and personally, I prefer the Black Ops style story where you really have to think about what is going on. It's not just militarized combat. Now, you can like what you like, but to me, this mission as a whole, Emergence, doesn't really feel like a Call of Duty game whatsoever. When I first played it, I compared it to BioShock. I've heard other people say Atomic Heart, other games along those kind of styles, and honestly, it really does feel like that. And I think that's okay, because some of the most memorable missions throughout Call of Duty are not the ones that feel like Call of Duty. Even going back all the way to All Gillied Up, at the time, that didn't feel like a Call of Duty mission, and seeing future games, it felt more like a Sniper Elite mission or some sort of more stealthy combat game. Didn't feel like Call of Duty, the Michael Bay games that they have created whatsoever. Or moving forward to Black Ops Cold War, the KGB mission didn't feel like a Call of Duty mission whatsoever. Most of the time you found out you were sneaking around or talking to other people or talking your way out of getting into combat, which some of those missions are my favorite missions of all time. And Emergence falls under that umbrella for me. I loved this mission. And when I see people talk about this mission, I see one of two things. People either loved it or people absolutely hated it. And as I mentioned, maybe it's because it didn't feel like Call of Duty, but the biggest thing I have seen people say is to keep zombies out of the campaign. And I understand that. It actually makes a lot of sense. But as a whole, I don't necessarily think it's the zombies that are the issue. I think more than anything, number one, it is the reused assets. As we go through the 4 different sectors of this mission, we end up getting into boss fights with various different special zombies. We get into boss fights with manglers, with mimics, with abominations, all zombies that we have seen many, many times before throughout Modern Warfare zombies, Black Ops zombies, and Black Ops Cold War. These are reused assets, and now they are in the campaign. And having to have fought these things thousands of times before, if you were camo grinding, you're probably very, very sick of them at this point. So to just see them reused almost felt a little bit lazy. And quite honestly, I think what would have worked a lot better for this mission is not shooting zombies. They should have kept the mannequins as the main bad guy. And the reason why I say that, we already know that Case was tripping out. That's the point of this. It's showing off what happens with Cradle. And the mannequins were already here in this area. It was the first thing that we saw as we worked our way throughout this mission. So if we were going through this and instead of zombies being here, they were all mannequins, this would make a lot more sense and wouldn't feel like you were being put into a zombies game. And then for the boss fights, I don't think you should have been fighting an abomination or anything along those lines. I think you should have been fighting the other main characters in the game. So for one of the boss fights, you could have been fighting Adler. For another one, Harrow. For another one, Frank Woods. And we've even seen this in several parts as some of the zombies actually turn in to some of these characters. It would make a lot more sense narratively as we could see the good side and bad side of Case, which is brought out by Cradle, be brought forward, and the whole idea of the campaign where you can't trust your allies be more of a motif instead of just zombies be added in for no apparent reason. So yeah, I get why the zombies thing becomes a problem. There is another mission where zombies are brought in as well. It's called Separation Anxiety, and this is the one where you play as Jane Harrow, the main bad guy or antagonist throughout the campaign. And when you do, zombies are once again brought in. However, this time we are not fighting against zombie bosses. They are used as almost a horror element. This mission is straight up pretty scary sometimes. And when they do this, they are not making it so that you are fighting against zombies. They are very clearly showing you that you are fighting against your subconscious and against evil Jane Harrow, pushing that element forward. Whereas when we go into Emergence and are playing as Case, the reason why zombies are there doesn't really make any sense. Whereas Jane Harrow, they are there because she is scared. It is showing her as a child and having to deal with these scary things that are going on in her life, and that is presenting as zombies. It's almost a metaphor, if you will. Whereas Case, they're just kind of there to give you something to fight. And I truly believe if those would have been mannequins instead of zombies and the bosses would have been different, this would have gone down as the best mission in any Call of Duty game. But it fell short because of reused assets, players who want to play zombies just wanting to be in zombies, and it being so unrealistic because they're zombies. People just didn't want that to make any sense. Because keep in mind, the Case mission isn't just in his head. He is in that facility and he is kind of battling against something. But because they're zombies, I think it took away from that overall motif of what the cradle is, what it does, and take away from the whole militarized style of Call of Duty. I think there was a better way to do this, and yeah, I still love this mission. And I think this mission comes down to one thing. Either you loved it or you hate it. And personally, I like to see Call of Duty campaigns go further and further away from that militarized combat where every mission you are just in another battle in another area of the world. And it just, to me, gets a little boring. To this, it adds more characters, it adds more story. And yeah, sometimes it gets a little controversial. But to me, I loved this mission. But I want to hear what you guys think about this mission. Were you pissed that zombies were in it? Did you care? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you want me to deep dive into more Call of Duty missions, maybe something along the lines of All Gillied Up or No Russian or some other missions from Call of Duty games like Clean House, let me know by hitting that like button, subscribing, turning notifications on. And as always, I appreciate you guys coming to check out the video. And until next time, peace.
We are